Some of you are not old enough to remember that there was an oil crisis back in '73. We thought the end of the world was coming then, and gasoline went from 26 cents a gallon clear up to 70 and 80 cents. What's going to come of this? I'm not going to be able to drive my car. What's going to happen? And I realized in talking with some church, we're in this together. You're not in this by yourself. If push comes to shove, we'll share. We're going to share with each other. We don't have much food. Well, we'll have a potluck at Joanne's house this week, and and Rick's house next week, and Erna, you can do Weight Watcher stuff, but we'll come to your house and do, but we'll share what we. That's the sense of I understand of Christian folk. There's joy there. There's excitement there. Have we lost that in the church? Well, the church is now an institution that people now are afraid of and want to stay away from because of pointing a finger. Jesus came that we may have life and have it abundantly, that we may come to know a sense of joy, of purpose, to know God. Paul writes it best for me when he writes it in the book of Romans, when he says to the Christians living in a bad government, barbaric time, people can care less about each other, you had to fend for yourself. And he said, do not fall back into fear, for you have received the spirit of sonship or childhood itself from God. You are fellow heirs of God and Christ. You did not fall back into this fear, but to live in faith. Because I know if I fall back into fear, I find life more bitter, more scary. I want to run away and hide. I do. Because everything is fearful. But if God gives us the strength to be ourselves, then I'm not going to be fearful. Now, Christians can be concerned, yes. Be a little upset, yes. Shed a tear today, maybe. But to live in fear, no. Because why? We've come from God, and we're going to. Christ came that we may have life. So maybe it is in knowing Christ that gives life. An obscure passage maybe, but from the Old Testament, people were hurting and wounded, and Moses was told, lift up on a stick a serpent. And even though that serpent doesn't mean anything, it'll remind you that God's in charge. And if you look upon that, you will be saved. You will have eternal life. You will have a vision. You will be healed and so forth. Follow. And they did. And so the references for our time is to lift up Christ. To see Christ. Where's Christ leading us? What's Christ about? When I remember Christ, I remember God and God's comfort about me. I'm a new creature. I remember everything about Christ, all the things he tried to say, and his death, his resurrection. I am saved, I'm redeemed, I'm renewed, I have a great relationship with God. I no longer live in my sin. You don't have to remind me that I'm a sinner. I know I'm a sinner. You don't have to remind me that. The church does. Now, I know that goes against the grain of a lot of other churches. You are all bound to you know where. You are no good. I don't believe that. I think you're good. I think that there's more good in you than bad. I think if we share Christ, look upon Christ, the bad begins to fade because the bad is in part gotten there by fear and the wounds. If I'm told that this will heal me and renew me and give me a vision, why would anyone want to know Christ? If we are the church of that, why wouldn't anyone want to come to church? Unless it's us, we who are already here. But if we're about his business, loving one another, including one another, saying, come and join us, be with us, we'll lift you up, we'll support you, we'll love you, we'll pray for you, why wouldn't anyone want to come and be a part of a loving congregation? Maybe not all congregations are loving. I don't know. I only know this one. I only know the ones I've served. I've met some great people along the way who were the embodiment of Christ. And because of Christ in their life, they were an embodiment of marriage and manhood and womanhood and childhood and parenting and all the models that all of us need to be better were all, for me, right in the life of the church, because it started with their understanding of Christ. And so, for me then, we need to begin to go to the shoreline, at least initially. We need to jump in. We need to get life jackets to help people. And say, this will not take your life. We will save you. Christ will save you. This is where we are, I believe, in 2009. Maybe it's too simple. But just be the wonderful people we know and lift up Christ. Lift up Christ in our life. Be whatever model you are to people round about you. The way in which you work and live and play and the words you use tells a lot. And again, why wouldn't anyone want to come to a place that was like that? My answer is I can't think of anything. Let us pray. Lord, help us to always make your house a loving place. Not exclusive. Certain people can come and can't come, but inclusive. Everyone is allowed, ought to come, are encouraged. Everyone is loved. Everyone is lifted up. No one falls through the crack. Help us in our days of laziness. Help us in our days of apathy. Because that's not what you're about. That's not what we are about as Christian folk. The world is in need of a positive image of Christ. The world is in need of people traveling down the road with us, jumping in the waters with us, traveling down our own journey with us, that we might help one another, give advice and love and help and get one up off the ground, each of us. May we be that kind of church, that kind of place where people may come and feel welcome. And when they leave this place, they'll know that they've been loved and cared for. This we pray in Christ. Amen. Let me, one last word, Bertie, before you. Whenever I do a wedding, I tell a couple this, and I hope it is apropos to this. Whenever we do a wedding, I want people to leave this sanctuary who are not married, wanting to get married. I want people who are already married said, I want my marriage to be just like that. I want people to go and renew their relationship with each other. That's what a wedding ought to be like. Isn't that what a church service ought to be like? I want to be like Christ. I want to be more loving and more caring in my